the camera.
The Lakers beat up a bit. We were all white. Rotary was all men white club. Old white man club. I think we can have a good time today.
Okay, good.
I'm not going rockets. Most of them do. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's time to let the good times roll. Welcome, everyone, to our Thursday afternoon meeting of the Rotary Club of Tyler. What? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Is this okay? I'll try to be more sensitive in the future. It's not very nice.
Well, yeah.
Welcome, everyone. It's good to see you. Very happy to be here. Folks, again, if you haven't turned your cell phone off, let's go ahead and take care of that, if you don't mind. And I want to thank Miss Vicki Conway, our pianist for today. Again, another nice job. I'll turn my cell phone off. And let us now stand while our immediate past president, Pamela Walters, comes up here and leads us in the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light, was so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose was Christ and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare upon first singing air. They through the night, and our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Yeah. Good job, Pamela. She's right. This is the best song ever written. And now for invocation, Robert Finney Jr. There you are, my friend.
Father, thank you for the privilege of coming together and to be a part of a club whose very slogan is service above self, which was modeled by Jesus Christ. I pray that you would use us in this community to be a means by which you may love it as we serve above self in the steps of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Good job.
All right, and I think, do we have any visiting Rotarians today first? Anyone? Oh, wait, one in the back table?
Yeah. This is Deborah Scott, and Deborah and I met years ago. Yeah. Yeah, 2 months ago. Yeah. So anyway, I did interiors and finished out for reconstruction and remodeling for different building contractors in town for the last almost 30 years. So, Pamela is a big friend of mine.
She's fabulous.
And this man too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it costs a lot of money.
It was worth it. My office out of services, which is on Elysia Road, and it's next door to 5-Star Stone and Brick, with my daughter and son-in-law from both of those businesses, so I office out of
Welcome, Deborah. All right, any other guests or visiting Rotarians?
Sorry.
It's my friend, my old friend that went to Gilbert in Dallas, Texas. Met him in 2015 when we were on an honor flight to Washington D.C. He brought his dad, who's a Korean War veteran, retired from AT&T downtown Dallas. Great man. Anyway, Doris is still a volunteer. We're going on a flight in 3 weeks, and then another flight in October to support World War II veterans. This flight in 3 weeks, we have 3 100-year-old
All right.
World War II veterans.
All right.
Doris is what we like to call the vice president of wheelchair enterprises. Because we have 2 luxury buses, and we have Knights of Columbus that always donate new wheelchairs every year because we do 2-day flights. I think the Brooklyn only did a 1-day flight. This actually will be our 44th flight. Woo! 3 weeks, we take over 1,500 veterans. But anyway, Joyce is the one who, we call it slinging wheelchairs about the bottom of the buses. Sometimes we go on the flights in June and it could be in the 90s. So I always say it's the hardest working man in honor flight.
All right, moving around the room, anybody at the back table here?
I'm Chris Hills, my wife Christy. We're relatively new to Tyler. We were in College Station beforehand. We're Rotarians there and trying to get plugged back in. We are executive directors of an organization called PHA, or Program for Humanitarian Aid, that works with orphans and at-risk youth in Ukraine. So
Glad to have you
This
guys.
is your second week with us, correct? Great, welcome back. Good to have you. What about at the front? No, looks like we got all veterans up here at the front. All right. Let's see, back corner table? Nope. All right.
Yes, here, this is Katie Scott. I met Casey a couple weeks ago at All Around Professionals, and he joined us last week with the time.
That's right, and I'm a director of sales at the Hampton Inn Suites, and I moved here from Amarillo, and before that, I was in Los Angeles, California, so Tyler's very interesting.
Welcome back. All right, well, are we turning it over to Paul now?
Okay, thank you, Robert. And it's great to have our visitors. And let me see here, birthdays and anniversaries. Get my glasses out, everything's a 2-step process. My age. Okay, birthdays, we're not gonna name the age, but I'll tell you the day. September the 2nd, Melissa Stanhouse. September 5th, Kimberly Lewis. September 15th, Mr. This Week in History, Paul Glasser. September 24th, James Haas.
A lot of history.
September 25th, Leland Ferguson. September 27th, Holly Hendricks. September 28th, Fran Hall and Colby McElwee. Let us now sing Happy Birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rotarians. Happy birthday to you.
You guys should be happy. Worst part of the meeting, I sing, it's over. Yeah. And now Rotary anniversary, Barbara's version. Sherman, thank you, Paul. 17 years. Richard Perryman, 9 years. Allison Cameron, 6 years. Jay Holzenbach, 13 years. Denny Key, 7 years. Barwood Pickles, 7 years. Cheryl Way, 14 years. Susan Stewart, 1 year. Andrea Horton, 1 year. Denver Dyer, 11 years. Congratulations to all. By the way, folks, did you guys read the quotable quote on this week's bulletin that came out? The quote was, "None of us were put on this earth to take it easy." Anybody remember who uttered those words? Not me. Ollie?
Ed Pascal.
Ed Pascal, my
Your
dad.
dad.
$20 gift card for the catch. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll make it worth your while.
Good. Right, there.
So Paul, it's now time for This Week in History. I'll hand the microphone over to you, sir.
Thank you, thank you. On the 2nd of September, 1969,
The first transaction in an automated teller machine, what we call an ATM. Please don't call it an ATM machine, that makes me crazy. The first transaction in an ATM was completed at a branch of the Chemical Bank in New York. The ATM was the brainchild of a guy named Don Wetzel, an executive with the Docutel Corporation in Dallas. Docutel's primary business at the time was automated baggage handling equipment for the airline industry. On the 3rd of September, 1783, the last battle of the American Revolution, this will be tomorrow, the last battle of the American Revolution having ended with the surrender of British General Charles Lord Cornwallis at Yorktown, Virginia, in October of 1781, the Treaty of Paris was signed by the American delegation, which included Benjamin Franklin and representatives of George III of Great Britain, officially ending the American War of Revolution against the British. That was tomorrow in 1783. On the 4th of September in 1888, George Eastman received a patent for the roll film camera and registered the trademark Kodak. As late as 1979, Kodak commanded a 90% share of film and camera sales in the United States. And in 1975, Kodak patented the first handheld digital camera, but deliberately was slow to develop the technology for fear of cannibalizing their immensely profitable film business. How did that work out? On the 5th of September in 1836, having the previous April led 800 Texas soldiers to a surprise attack victory over the 1,500 men of General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna and his Mexican army, Sam Houston was elected as the first president of the Republic of Texas. Yeah, amen.
Yeah.
On the 6th of September, 1901, while shaking hands with a well-wisher at the Pan American Exhibition in Buffalo, New York, and who would have an exhibition in Buffalo, New York? While shaking hands at that exhibition, a 28-year-old anarchist named Leon Salgaz fired 2 shots into the chest of President William McKinley. The president rose slightly on his toes before collapsing forward, saying, "Be careful how you tell my wife." After initially appearing to be on the mend following surgery, McKinley succumbed to gangrene in one of the wounds on September the 14th. On the 7th of September, 1940, Nazi Germany began an aerial blitz on London, what would come to be called the Battle of Britain. The Luftwaffe bombed London for 57 consecutive nights, killing 43,000 civilians, destroying the homes of more than 1 million residents. The operation was intended to coerce Prime Minister Winston Churchill into coming to terms with the Nazi regime, thus freeing Hitler to turn his full attention to the Eastern Front, the Soviet Union. In a show of leadership that will likely be studied to the last generation, Churchill stood firm and rallied the British people as the Royal Air Force was able to eventually turn the tide against the Luftwaffe. Speaking of their heroic effort, the Royal Air Force, Churchill said, "Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few." And on the 8th of September, 1974, seeking to put the controversies of the preceding administration fully behind him, President Gerald Ford issued a full pardon to his predecessor, President Richard Nixon, for crimes he may have committed in office. Pardon had the desired effect, but at the political price of likely costing Gerald Ford the election in 1976 against Jimmy Carter. Birthdays in the coming week: Mark Harmon today turns 70. Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback great Terry Bradshaw today turns 73. Raquel Welch on Sunday turns, get ready, 81.
Wow.
Yeah, it gets worse. Bob Newhart also on Sunday turns 92. And Bernie, not surprisingly, on Wednesday, Bernie Sanders turns 80. And that's this week in history.
All right, very good.
Paul, thank you very much. All right, I want to thank our greeter for today. We only have one. Thank you, Rochelle, for being out there.
Yes.
And now it's time for Rotary business. We've got our East Texas Symphony Orchestra concert in the park, September 4th. Thank all of you who have volunteered. Our September 9th meeting will be held at Traditions Restaurant. Due to the TJC Golf Tournament, The meal cost is the same. You get one entree, 2 vegetables, bread, salad, dessert, drink for $19, just like we do here. And let's go to page 2.
So we're just gonna get there and walk through the line, or how's that?
That's how we'll do it.
And I'm taking care of the bill, so they will have, you'll just say you were Rotary. I'm gonna have instructions and everything that will come there.
Yeah, it's all pretty much laid out.
You just pay me like you always do.
Okay.
And please don't forget, always RSVP Holly, okay?
Next week.
And what was that?
Next week.
It's next week.
Next week, yeah. And we need your August volunteer hours, so please email them to Holly. Our program for September 9th will be our district governor nominee, Karen Raines. She's going to talk to us about RILA. And today, to introduce our speaker, our president-elect, Allison, is not here, so we're going to ask the quiet, unassuming Dixie Walker to come forward and introduce today's speaker. Please try to behave yourself, Dixie.
Say my name right, Dixie.
Oh, don't put pressure. Do not put
You
pressure.
want me to say it?
Yeah. Reineck, right?
Elysia, yeah.
Elysia Reineck.
Yeah, just like I told you earlier.
So guys, it's my greatest pleasure to introduce our speaker today. But before I introduce her, I just want to say a couple of things about Therapet that she'll probably tell you, but this is what just blows my mind. You've got these normal people that live in a house, they have pets in their homes, and these pets do all the things that normal pets do. And then when they put these capes on, they become super pets. They totally act different and are better than any of your kids or grandkids ever could act. So anyway, with that, I would like to introduce our speaker, Elysia Reineck. Did I say that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know, got me nervous now.
I know.
She was born and raised in Tyler after obtaining a business degree from Baylor University. From Baylor, she hurried back home. Elysia has over 15 years of experience working at UT Health Jacksonville as the Director of Human Resources, during which time she volunteered as the hospital liaison for Therapet. She joined Therapet as the Executive Director in March of 2020, right in the middle of COVID. She has a heart for animals and patient care and loves that Therapet brings those two passions so perfectly together. She and her husband Ryan have 2 very spoiled pups, Gertrude and Gus. Please come up here and tell us all about the wonderful world of Therapet.
Thank you. Well, I'm gonna have Stephanie come up. I'm gonna introduce the close.
Close to the
Close,
microphone.
I have to hold it, okay, right here. So I've got Stephanie and Louie here today. Stephanie's actually gonna have Louie on the table, and we're gonna kind of pretend that's a rehab table today. And then I wanna introduce Leanne and Zoe. Zoe's 9, is that right? She's a Labradoodle. And then we've got Paula and Abby in the back too. And Abby's 9? 7, okay, she's 7. Didn't mean to age you there. Okay, so she's 7. I just am so excited to be here with y'all today. Dixie was very kind and asked me to be the guest of hers last week, so I got to meet some of you and see a lot of familiar faces. Dr. Nichols worked on my teeth a lot when I was younger. He's a good one. But yes, I also want to insert that I am an Aggie by marriage. So, I've been indoctrinated into the Aggie world as much as I can be at this point. So, he's a good man. So I just want to kind of introduce you to Therapet. I'm curious, how many of you have heard of Therapet? Raise your hand. Okay, awesome. Do you feel like you know a lot about Therapet? You just heard of us. Okay. So, and I'm going to have Kathy kind of go through slides for me too, but you can go to the next one. So I'm just going to get down to the basics here and kind of tell you what animal-assisted therapy is. It's companion animal visits. So we're going into a scheduled encounter with a human to try to interact with them and improve whatever's going on in their lives at the moment. whether that's physical or we'll talk about a lot of the other things as well. It improves physical, emotional, spiritual, cognitive, anything that they're in need of at that moment. It truly helps them, and there's science behind that. So this is a picture at UT Health, and those are 5 of our pups. They were so excited to have them back. We went back in August, had 2 visits, and then spiked with COVID. So we're back out there right now. So it's been an interesting year. I started about 7 days before I heard of COVID at Therapet. So wild time to start a new job, and especially with a nonprofit, but it's good and we're hanging in there. So we go to a lot of different facilities. We're working with patients in hospital settings, rehab settings. We go into prisons, not right now, but normally. And then we have our READ program as well, which I'm really passionate about, and I'll talk about too. Okay, so it can be anything with a domesticated animal. So we have dogs, cats, and a bird in our program. We have an umbrella cockatoo, 3 cats right now. But really any animal, as long as it's got the right temperament and training and they're vetted, make sure that they don't have any diseases that are going to be passed off to the humans they're interacting with, can be a therapy animal. So we don't have dolphins. Maybe that's a goal at some point, but there are some really cool programs, one specifically in Europe that takes horses, like big horses, into hospital settings, and it is just incredible to watch. They actually kind of rescue those horses from racing environments and take them in. So it's really neat. So one thing I'm going to talk about a little bit on the next screen that we want to clarify, and we get a lot of confusion about, a lot of calls to the office about, is that therapy animals are not service animals and they're not emotional support animals. So if you'll go to the next slide, we'll kind of talk about that. This is a little breakdown, and you may need your binoculars to see this, but we've got service animals on the left, we've got emotional support on the right, and then we've got our little Therapet logo in the middle there showing what we do. So we're therapy animals. So pretty much the main thing to remember about service and emotional animals compared to therapy animals, what we do, is that service and emotional support animals are fine-tuned to react to one person's needs, whereas therapy animals are trained to be able to reach any number of people and their needs. We actually get calls pretty frequently wanting to know if somebody can just come down and pick up a therapy animal to take home with them. So, like, that's not what we do, guys. But so there is a lot of confusion about that. But the main thing is that our animals tolerate a lot of people, a lot of environments, and serve a great number of people versus fine-tuning for one person. And I've inserted a bunch of our trading cards, and you'll probably all receive some trading cards today. So this is Madeline. She's one of our Frenchies right now, and she's actually a family of 4 Frenchies that are Therapets. And when you see them all 4 coming together, it's pretty interesting. So, no, you're good. So history, we began in 1994 at Encompass Health. It's a partner of Christus right now. And the way that came to be is that there was an occupational therapist giving a presentation at Encompass, and some of the folks came up to her afterward and said, what can we do to get this started in Tyler? She said, well, I'll come from Dallas and move here and get it going for you. And so that's how Therapet was born. Really neat and sacrificial of her. So that kind of set the groundwork for who we are and what we do today. Yeah, we go to the next one. A few more. And I do want to say, I already got this question from the gentleman at my table today. What are the main types of breeds of dogs that you see? I think there's always kind of an assumption that it's labs and goldens, and we do have plenty of those. But so many, I'd probably say at least 50% are rescues and mixed breed. Pit bulls get a bad rep, but we've got quite a few mixed pits in the program that are just absolute angels, some of my favorites. So those are 3 of our pups there. No, you're good. You're good. Go back. Go ahead.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
I know, you're trigger happy.
Want to see the dogs.
So we're in our 27th year of serving in Texas, and we started out as 6 or 7 volunteers, and now we've grown to a significant 501c3 nonprofit. We right now have about 120 humans. We couldn't do it without them. Not all of them have animals, and if you ever want to serve with us, call us. We'd love to kind of talk to you about what our needs are. You don't have to have an animal in the program, but I promise you it's going to make you want an animal in the program if you do that. So, and then 90 dogs, 3 cats, and we have an umbrella cockatoo, like I mentioned. So we're currently contracted to serve 15 different facilities throughout East Texas, and that covers about 5 different counties. Now, we're not at all of those right now, and we'll go through some of that too, just because of, you know what, COVID. But that's about 12,000 hours of service between our humans and our animals that they give to the community every year. Okay, and so a couple of pictures. These are in hospital settings with a couple of our pups. And I just have a couple of quotes here. There's a strong, often inexplicable bond between animals and people. If any of you have pets at home, you probably know. As soon as you get home, it's like you are Brad Pitt showing up, and they are excited to see you, and it's like they haven't seen you in weeks and weeks. It's wonderful.
And unlike a wife, the later you are coming home, the happier.
That's
exactly right.
Paul is right about that.
Put your wife and your dog in the trunk of your car for 3 hours on a hot summer's day, and then when you open it up, which one's going to be happy to see you?
It's not going to be your wife. I'll tell you that. I don't want to see you on a Dateline later. But anyway, animals are accepting, they're non-threatening, they're non-judgmental. It makes it easy for people to open up when they're around them. And I have so many stories I can tell. So Bill told me he's going to jump up and do cartwheels when it's time for me to stop talking. So
Yeah,
you know,
you're hallucinating.
I know, I'm hallucinating. So we're going to go over kind of the different settings that we're in. But for physical health, and this is most often in a hospital setting, there's so much science behind what it does when you're around a dog, but also then petting the dog. So it lowers your blood pressure very quickly when you start petting a dog. It improves cardiovascular health. It releases all the positive hormones that we have. So those boost up, like oxytocin, diminishes your physical pain. Any of those negative hormones decrease. And you get an automatic relaxation response when you're petting an animal. So it's very cool. One of our recent stories, one of our newest dogs that got certified this year, it's not unusual to have a patient in a coma. They're completely non-responsive. We had that happen, I guess it was back in April at UT, and one of our pups named Cooper went into the room with the nurse just to see if they get any reaction. They knew that he loved dogs. So Cooper walks in, and the nurse guides the patient's hand onto Cooper's back, and nothing really happens for a second, and then the patient started making a clicking noise. It had been totally unresponsive right up until that moment, and started going like something he did at home with his dogs to get their attention. I mean, it gives me chills. It's really magical, the things that happen there. Another one, very recently, probably about a month ago, there was a patient that was actively dying. They were in the hospital and were not going to be coming out. And so a lot of times we're there with the animals just to visit with the family members. They need to see us and staff too, just as much as the patients do a lot of times. And so one of the dogs was visiting with the patient's family members there. They're going through a very, very difficult time, about to lose their loved one. And one of the family members said, "I just wish Dad was awake and could see that the dog was here." And you know, they have their visit with the family, and then the handler's trying to get the dog out of the room. The dog would not leave. She wouldn't leave. And so finally they were like, well, let's kind of get the dog over to the patient and see what happens. And the dog went up to the bed. The patient's hand was open, and the dog just laid its head in the patient's hand and just laid there until it was basically time for the dog to say, "I've done what I needed to do here." And then they exited the room. So I'm telling you, the intuition that the animals have it's remarkable. And when you see it in action, you're hooked for life. So anyway, that's kind of about physical health. Now this is a little girl. This was at Christus back in March. And I have a quote there from her mother. She said, "We enjoyed them so much last night. She had just gotten admitted when the pups got there. The Lord knew she needed them. My little girl is still talking about them and asking to see them again. Thank you for making our rough day better. You all made her day, and in turn made Mama's day." So she got to visit with Sugar, Chuck, and Carabella that night. And she's still talking about them. She's in love with them. So that's just one thing to share about that. Okay, and then in the physical and occupational therapy setting, so we're at Encompass Rehab over on Troop Highway Monday through Friday every week of the year. for about 3 hours. So Louis kind of demoing that right now. We call him the king, by the way. He's very fancy. So at the rehab table at Encompass, the physical and occupational therapists are utilizing our animals as a modality to work on specific things that the patient needs to improve on. And we'll share some specifics about that in a little bit. But it's proven that it increases joint movement, it improves recovery time. Their motor skills, whether they're fine or major motor skills, improve, and it motivates them more than anything. One big example we give is that if they're working on flexibility of arm, if you've got a therapist just saying, hey, move your arm like this. Okay, well, that's kind of boring. If you have a dog over there, you put a ball in their hand and say, throw the ball to the patient, you will get an crazy increase in percentage of how many more repetitions they'll do versus not having the dog there. So it's really unbelievable. This is just one of the coolest things that's happened this year. This is Therapet Bree. She actually was not certified during this visit. We have an apprenticeship process, and it takes a long time to get certified with us. So this was an apprentice visit with Encompass. This young woman had just had a stroke. You can tell she's young. She's probably I think I'm young. I'm going to say she's a few years younger than me. But so it left her with very little mobility in her right arm. Shoulder, whole arm is affected. So when a stroke occurs, many physicians in the room know your neural pathways are damaged by that stroke. And so what they're trying to do here is kind of recreate some of those pathways in her brain. The therapist here, Tony, she's actually also on our board. She's amazing. And she's the one that's guiding the movement of this patient's arm. She really doesn't have much ability on her own. So part of what they're doing here is just Tony guiding the arm into place and saying, okay, we're going to stroke the dog here. And that's also working on her sensory input and kind of rebuilding that. I'm feeling the spur and letting the brain know that's what's happening too. Okay, you can go to the next one. Okay, and this is very cool too. So this is purposeful exercise that the therapists have designed to try to help her with what she's needing to improve on. So they're literally just moving her arm, trying to get that abdominal and trunk control back. You need that to get dressed, put your pants on every day. So they're trying to rebuild that and make her able to get out of there at some point. And then you'll see the electrical stimulation devices on her arm. So that's actually triggering that muscle as they're doing the movement to kind of remind the brain, this is the movement, and just kind of rebuild that pathway. Back to Bree. So as I said, Bree was in her apprenticeship period, and for this visit, she got to use every single modality that is needed at Encompass Rehab. She stood still for 15 minutes just for this exercise with this patient. And you can see Bill, he's her dad on the floor. And so he's got perfect positioning there. We always hold on to the collar when they're with a patient, just in case something happens. And then you got the therapist guiding her movement there. So Bree did an amazing job that day. Okay, next one. Okay, and then this is at Encompass as well. And so this young lady is working on just trying to regain some normal motions that she would need in her life outside of the hospital, like grocery shopping, cleaning, that kind of thing. And so she's just walking along, and she's going to walk further and longer because Therapet Buddy is in the buggy with her. So that's a neat thing too, just working on gait mechanics. Okay, go to the next one. Okay, this is yours truly, Abby. Abby's over there. And if y'all want to kind of walk around the room and let everybody pet on the dogs too while I'm talking, you can do that too. But so Abby frequently goes to Encompass Rehab as well, and you may be wondering why does she looks like she just got her hair did. So these are just little clips, and so they'll use brushes and clips to work on fine motor skills with the patients. So it could be a stroke, any number of things that have happened, and they're just trying to regain that little bit of control. And that's what Abby looked like when a patient got done with her. So go to the next one. Okay, so for mental health, I mean, y'all know if you have an animal, the things that it does for you, but it lifts your spirits, lessens depression. Especially the past year, it's been hard. We get so many calls with a need, and depending on what's going on with COVID, we've had to say no a lot. But isolation and alienation are a really serious thing that dogs can help with. So provides comfort, decreases anxiety, all of those things. You go to the next one. Okay, and I get so passionate about the READ program. So the READ program is actually a registry within the Therapet certification. So you cannot become READ registered unless you are a therapy animal. So a handful of our dogs also have this as well. So this is where they go into school settings, library settings, and work one-on-one with a student who is behind on their literacy. I don't know how much y'all know about statistics with literacy, but it's pretty devastating out there. We target kids between kindergarten and third grade. The reason for that is K through 3, you're learning to read. After third grade, you're reading to learn. So third grade is a really critical time for literacy to develop. And it's sad, I mean, if you read the statistics. So in first grade, by the end of first grade, any child that is behind, only about 10% of them are going to be able to really get ahead after that. And then fast forward to third grade, by the end of third grade, only 3/4 that are behind level are ever going to catch up. That affects filling out a job application. It affects understanding communication with your doctor, reading side effects on prescription labels. I mean, things that we take for granted because of literacy it's our whole world. So these dogs go in one-on-one, and there's no pressure, there's no judgment when you're reading to a dog. They don't care. Half the time they fall asleep, and 100% of the time with these students, they see an improvement in their literacy after reading with the dogs or a time period. I could go on and on about that. Okay, go to the next one. Oh, there's Louie. These are some quotes from patients as well. Thank you for allowing my dad to visit with these beautiful pets. After the visit today, he sat on the edge of his bed feeling the will to keep fighting. Go to the next one. I've been in the hospital now for 7 days trying to get well. A stay like this when you're removed from your family and your own pets at home gets really hard and emotional. The Therapets came by and I instantly felt new life breathed into my soul. Even today, I feel better than I did yesterday emotionally. Please keep this going. It's an invaluable asset to our community. The next one. And this is proof of what I was talking about at Encompass. I had hip replacement surgery and still was in quite a bit of pain and could only stand about 1 to 2 minutes. After starting to put Bose on Hug, a beautiful golden retriever, I was able to stand 11 minutes one day and 13 minutes the next. I completely forgot about my pain. This is real stuff, y'all. Gives me chills. Buck, there's our umbrella cockatoo, famous Cuddles. You ever get to meet her, I encourage you to. She's cool. Go to the next one. Okay, places that we serve. So these are the 15 different contracted groups we're with. So we've got healthcare category. We're at the Tyler main campus, and of course, Encompass Health as a part of Christus umbrella. UT Health, we're normally at the Tyler main campus, North Campus, and Jacksonville, and the Russ State Hospital. School systems, we have Beckville ISD READ program. We have animal-assisted therapy at Chapel Hill, helping with some special needs kiddos there. And then Tyler ISD, we just had our first visit back for the school year this morning with Jones and Bo Shears, and Abby was there, and it went really well. So kiddos there love them. Community programs, Breckenridge, we're not able to serve. We actually went back for one time and then had to pull out very recently. So Children's Advocacy Center, we're not in there right now. ETCC, we've been back for about a month and a half. Lindale Library, we're there 2 Saturdays a month. And then Skyview Unit, we haven't been there since COVID started. So that's kind of where we regularly serve in non-COVID times. Go to the next one. Gracie, Linus, and Pepper. Next one. And then we're out and about doing a lot of stuff in the community. So we ring the bell for the Salvation Army every Christmas. You'll probably see us at Fresh, Rice Road Brochures, those kind of places, and we pull long shifts with those dogs. So next one. If you're flying from Tyler Pounds around Thanksgiving or Christmas, we go out there both seasons to just try to reduce. These are not drug dogs. Do know the difference between those if you're at the airport. But it helps to release anxiety. Don't attack a drug dog. So we love going out there seasonally. And then next, wish Trudy was here because she could speak to this. I think for 5 or 6 years now, as part of our Christmas party that we have with our volunteers, we ask everybody to bring food. And annually for 5 or 6 years now, we've donated over 500 pounds of food It's Meals on Wheels, and I'm sure she's told y'all about that. She shared with me that she'd just gotten a grant approved, but people feed their human food to their animals if they don't have dog food or cat food, which I would do. I would share my food with my animal to keep them from starving. So if you provide dog and cat food, they can eat their own human food, feed their animals separately. So it's a cool thing, and we love to do it. Next one. And then there's some ways that you can join us. There's several of our puppies there.
That's cool.
I know it is. Go to the next one. So we obviously need donors. We're a nonprofit organization. We never charge facilities for our visits. We need volunteers. Like I said, you do not have to have an animal. And then if any of y'all are on social media, please like our pages and share our posts. It's huge for us. You go to the next one. One really fun thing, this is our biggest fundraiser of the year, and I'd love to have some of y'all show up at this, but it's Therapet Totally Unleashed. It's our 10th annual Unleashed event. It's at the Cascades, October 23rd. We are having it. We're not going to let COVID stop us this year. We had to cancel it last year. Mercedes-Benz and Classic Toyota are our big dog sponsors. You can sponsor this. You can just buy tickets and attend. This is not a stuffy party. It's very laid back, fun, and there are dogs there, of course. You probably will get to meet Cuddles, the cockatoo, also. She normally makes an appearance. Auctions, we need auction items, gift cards, that kind of thing too. So if you have a business that you'd like to contribute, we'd love to receive that. The next one. These are our social media handles. So if you're out on Facebook, Twitter, we're not really super active on Twitter, Insta, and lots of YouTube videos out there. Please hit us up there. That's pretty much it. Does anybody have questions? You didn't even have to stand up. Did I speed through that? Close, you're about to stand up?
It's 12:49. I stand up at 12:50.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Watch one for if you want to get your dog certified.
Yes.
Okay, so they have to have their Canine Good Citizen certificates. That basically takes them through, depending on their age, puppy, intermediate, advanced training. We recommend PetSmart. Both of the trainers at PetSmart are also our Therapet Skills Class trainers. So they're wonderful. If you go into a PetSmart class and say, I'm considering Therapet certification, they can kind of groom you and guide you and kind of give you feedback early on about that. So we have to have the Canine Good Citizen certificate before they can take their Therapet Skills classes, because we need them to know basic obedience and have that just real stellar and in place before we start introducing things in the skills class like hospital equipment, rehab table, things like that that are a little bit more advanced for where we're going. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
Are you going to bring the miniature horses back again, or?
Oh my gosh, I want miniature cows and pigs and horses and all of that, but we're not there yet.
Well, years ago you did
We had
have, you
horses.
did, yeah. Well,
We did.
our club donated the trailer.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
That's why I was asking the question.
So what are the difference between these cards on the table?
Okay, so there are cards on the table, and there are more, I don't remember where we stuck them, but right here. So one just kind of introduces what Therapet does, and the other goes through the specifics of making your dog a Therapet, getting through the process, and kind of how intense it is. So y'all feel free to take one of those. If you want to post one in your business, we'd love for you to do that too. Any other questions? I have a video I want to show. It's 3 minutes long. Do I have time to do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go.
Just kind of shows it in action. We'll let Kathy
Wow.
pull it up. And that may bring some more questions too for you guys. But y'all can run around the table and visit everybody with the pups.
So is it true that dog is God spelled backwards?
You are a good speller. You're a good speller. You're right. Dog is God spelled backward.
What's your annual budget?
Well, we have 2 salaried positions. So bless you. Should say God bless you, because I'm not the Lord. So basically just keeping the lights on, rent, the 2 salaried positions. I mean, we're counting insurance. We have really heavy liability insurance. That all adds up. Rent's about $3,000 a month. And we have to have the big space for the training facility to have room for that. So, it's 150 in there.
Not fine here.
Oh, okay. We're missing sound. Hold
Yeah, I
on.
know.
She'll start over. This introduces 3 of the facilities that we visit.
trying. It's connected.
Well, if we can't get it to play, it's on YouTube if y'all want to go out there and kind of visit some of our videos.
Still fun to watch.
Yeah, you can watch it. I can kind of tell you what's going on. So you'll see that the dog is on a towel. We're one of the first, if not the first, AAT organization to be allowed into ICU settings in the country. It's because of our very strict infection control protocol. I think a lot of people had never used hand sanitizer until COVID, but we were well used to using that way before that. So we anti-that going into the room. We lay down a towel, clean towel. That's a barrier between the patient and the dog, and then we remove that the towel when we leave the patient's room. So that's a huge infection control block there.
So you're associated with the national organization?
We are not associated with the national organization. We are just in East Texas. Yeah. So all the money given to us stays right here.
Yeah,
Oh, there we go.
I've got a box
Okay,
here
back
at
it up.
home.
We still have
Hi.
time?
They get valued
time to
every
go back?
single day, and
Okay,
so
well, we'll just leave.
When we can give them something good, it makes all the world
to
feel
go back.
better.
No.
Especially for people being here for a while. You need to be able to smile every once in a while. You know?
Perks it up for you.
Well, I sure do appreciate you.
We're at the campus of Jones Boshears, and Therapet has been coming here for approximately 10 to 12 years, twice a month on Thursday mornings. We visit approximately 80 to 100 students with varying disabilities. A lot of the children are autistic and just they can't socially communicate in the same ways that you and I do, so they can communicate with the dog in different ways. So just even a simple reaching out and touching the dog is huge for a lot of these children, or even throw the ball for the dog. Yay! It gives the child a voice. A lot of the children, they're very tactile, very sensitive, tactile sensitive to things. So touching a dog's soft fur, and they do that with their hands and their feet. A lot of children won't touch with their hands, but they enjoy touching with their feet.
we're working on range of motion. If you're working on a patient that is cognitively impaired, you're wanting them to use their words, ready, set, go. Or like when we were working with Boone and we would tell him, are you ready?
Are you ready?
That is a motivation for the patient, and also using their language. If we have a patient who has had a stroke and they're learning how to use that affected limb again, so they're throwing the ball, trying to use functional movement with that arm.
The decrease in the length of stay from a insurance coverage standpoint has really impacted patients' function at discharge. So they used to stay longer. They would be at a higher level when they went home. Now we've got to try to reach that higher level in a much shorter period of time. So if we can use the animals to do that, it can only be good for the patient. So I can't think of any time that it's been a negative experience for a patient to be involved in animal-assisted therapy. It's just not a bad thing. It's always useful.
Very good. Very good. Well, how you spell
Elysia.
Elysia?
Yeah.
Speaking just for myself, I think this is one of the best programs we've had around here in a long time. Really do. And I want to present this to you from the club. We donate a book to the Literacy Council in your name.
Thank
And I really support what you guys did. Kim and I went to that Unleashed year before last, and it was just an absolute riot. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, real quick, it's time for the Ace of Diamonds. Holly, are you playing Sergeant at Arms today?
Yes, because our sergeant
Okay.
at arms is at home with COVID.
All righty, I need you, Lisa, I need you to,
Me?
yep,
Oh, you would.
pull a ticket out of there.
Take it. And the last three digits.
Last three digits.
I'm close to needing bifocals, y'all. 588.
588. Richard Perryman. Okay, Richard, you know what to do.
We've got 51 of our
$206. Woo-hoo.
Ten clubs, all right. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for coming. It's now time to stand for the four-way test of the things that we think, say, and do as Rotarians. First,
Is it the truth?
second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
third,
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
All right, folks, remember, next week, we're in traditions. Call me if you need me, and we're adjourned.
Thank you.